Hey everybody, welcome. Hello. Hey everybody, welcome back to the LuckyDog podcast. This is your host, Elias Rush. This podcast is sponsored by EliasRushMedia.com, photo, video, digital media production. Today we are discussing the long-awaited review. I know everyone's been waiting for it. Everyone's been talking about it. It's Squid Game on Netflix. It is Squid Game is a South Korean survival drama television series streaming on Netflix. Think of one of those video games that have come out in the last couple of years, Fall Guys, or like battle royale type Fortnite-ish kind of styled games, but like live action, and actually you will really die. So let's just say these people in these this show, they're playing these, let's just like, larger than life adult games merged with children's games in the same style. Think green light, red light. But if you don't do what Simon says, then you die. So I know that's kind of a long way of saying it's a survival drama television series, but uh, why is this game hooking the world? Why is this game, uh, you know, gripping everybody by surprise? I gotta say, from the technicals and the standpoint of a regular Netflix drama, what is the recipe for most of the Netflix dramas these days? Well, to kind of have an eccentric looking, irreverent plot or cinematography that is just eye capturing for one. I think generally most of Netflix's series do an excellent job of having that eye capturing look to their television shows. So the cinematography and the colors are not something I normally have a problem with, and certainly not here either. They have really boosted the colors, the irreverent look of the cinematography. The camera works very nice. It looks like you're watching a movie the majority of the time that you are watching Squid Game. And so I gotta say, from the look to the feel to the production to the technicals, I actually listened to this. Or I watched it with headphones on, and I love the sound design just as much as I loved the visual flair of it too. So, from coming from all of that, um, even with I watched half of the series with English dubs and half of it with Korean subtitles, or Korean voiceovers, the original Korean voiceovers with English dub, so I can see what they were saying, or subtitles, English subtitles. So with saying that, I thought both sides worked really well. But a lot of times, voiceovers in American series don't always work as well because they're either told to have like this weird, authentic, super authentic Korean accent, but do it in an American style, or do a Korean voice, or not a Korean voice, but do a character that is Korean with an American accent. So it's kind of weird when those are mismatched. But I felt like Squid Game did an excellent job of having both the subtitles and the dubs work on both sides. So it worked for either party. So I'm not going to go through and try to butcher everyone's name because I don't speak Korean, and I don't want to have any disrespect to the names of the actors or actor uh, or directors behind this. So I'm going to probably refer to everybody as their number that they were in the game. And so, with saying that, I didn't think there was generally a weak point in this series at all. I was blown away to see some international um, acting flair on screen, which I basically wanted to see the majority of this entire cast in either another type of television show or Netflix show or another movie. I thought the majority of them were pretty astounding when it came to having some amazing acting chops. I was blown away. So the series was released on Netflix worldwide September 17th. The show received overwhelmingly positive reviews with praise for its performances, like I said, the originality. I'd say it's not exactly the most original plot, but it does have enough of its own identity that I think that most people will be like, yeah, this is something that you've got to check out. The atmosphere and themes. And I got to say that even though there are parts of this show that feel slightly heavy handed, um, I do feel like it's done with care. And despite the language barrier, it translates relatively well. Um, Within a week, it became one of Netflix's most watched programs in several regional markets. And I think it's going to continue to grow in popularity because it is about 9 episodes and they're approximately 40 minutes to an hour each, maybe a little, maybe they're close to an hour. Um, but with saying that, it feels like you're watching a movie. Almost every episode is compelling, just as the last one, and it progresses the plot. It doesn't feel like it has any fat on it. There's a little bit of stuff that happens in the middle of the season that I probably have a little bit more quibbles about, but overall, this was a very impressive series, and I would recommend it to people that really like, this type of almost like most dangerous game, people hunting other people kind of thing. But this is more or less like people playing games for money, so they're kind of putting themselves in these situations so that they can win these, prizes. And um, the more I think about it, how crazy game shows are these days, it really does feel like an extreme version of Fear Factor. And for people that international audiences that are watching this, they have no idea what Fear Factor is. It was when Joe Rogan, the podcaster, used to be on this show, and these people would have to like climb a giant fucking crane that was like 30 stories high or something like that. And when they would do that, they would essentially uh, have to like jump across this like really high intense heights and then jump off the crane or something like that, and then eat a couple cockroaches or something like that, just do disgusting things, do things that would normally like really bug people that would really gross people out. People are really scared of heights, so they'd make you climb really high heights, make you jump off of it, make you go into places where it feels like you're going to drown, and you got to get out of a box in a certain amount of time. Basically, you were playing these games that felt like you were close to, death in some sort of way. Put a jar of bees over your head or something like that, and then you got to get the lock off to get the bees out. It's like, oh, the fucking bees, it's so it feels like they would kind of like make up these games. And this is real life. I'm talking, real life. This is not the show I'm talking about. I'm talking in real life Fear Factor. They actually had people doing this. Eat a nasty little bug coming on you, and it's like, yeah, eat the centipede or something like that. Do something disgusting, and they would make them do these disgusting things for money. And so, Squid Game is not that far off from actually, what real life is already. So basically, with without going into too much more detail, I'm going to start kind of going a little bit more into the plot of this. I'm not going to go into complete spoilers, but we're going to start talking about the episodes very quickly. And normally we like talking about the first episode and the last episode, just to kind of have a full roundup of what's going on with this show. And we'll talk a little bit about what's going in the middle, mostly because this does feel very much like a movie, and it's hard to, kind of nail down just having the plot and then the ending. We'll talk all about the middle as well. So stick around. Let's get down to it. We'll kind of break it down a little bit more. Squid Game. Get a little agua. No, I'm not kidding about Fear Factor. This show feels like the response of Fear Factor if we could actually kill people. This is what would happen. This is why we can't. This is why we can't have nice things. So, um, I am going to attempt the. Okay, so I just want to give credits to the creator. I'm sorry if I mispronounced this, but Hwang Dong Hyuk, and I believe that's the creator, the writer. He's the director. I believe he did all of the episodes. I'll let you know if I'm wrong on that one, if I can. If I get any of this wrong, y'all let me know in the YouTube comments as well. This is a South Korean production. The composer Jung Jae Il. I really liked the music in this as well. Kind of reminded me of Ratchet on, I think it's called Ratchet on what's it called on Netflix? It's the one with the nurse from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It kind of has that same boosted color aesthetic. It also has the same feels as like Maniac. Is it Maniac or Maniac with Emma Stone and Jonah Hill? Has all of that same aesthetic when it comes to the cinematography, the colors, the boosted uh vibrant like synthy tones and stuff like that. um but yeah, so it is. I'm seeing some episodes maybe 30 minutes to 60 minutes, so I guess there was one that was a little bit shorter. um so here's the premise, and again, I'm going to say these names a little bit wrong, so I'm apologize up front, and this will contain spoilers as we go through, but this is going to be the premise, and I'll let you know as we go into the next few episodes as we do them. So here's the premise. Seong Gi Hyung, a divorced and in debt chauffeur, is invited to play a series of children's games for a chance at a large cash prize. Accepting the offer, he is taken to an unknown location and finds himself among 455 other players, all with similar large debts. The players are kept under watch at all times by masked guards in pink suits, with the games overseen by the front man. The players soon discover that losing these games result in their death, though each death adds 100 million won, I believe, which is the equivalent of about $84,000 in American US money, um, to the grand prize. Gi Hyun allies with other players, including his childhood friend Cho Sang Woo, uh, to try to survive the physical and psychological twist of the games. Now, this is essentially what happens in the first episode, give or take the first or second episode. It is established very, very much that that these characters, every single one of these characters, have a strong motive of why they want to be involved in the Squid Game, or in the games. Um, the reason they want to be in there is strictly because greed, or because they need the money, or because they've been pushed into situations where they need uh, large amounts of money, or actually greedy. So um, the thing is, this show is demonstrating, how greed can, basically turn you into a monster, dog eat dog kind of thing. And um, to an extent, I felt like I had seen some parts of this, the tropes of this show, having the most dangerous game, who's going to come out on top by playing these different games. It's a little bit like, without going into too many spoilers, it feels like a combination of Fear Factor meets Saw. And that's all I'm going to say right there until we get to the end. And if I don't come back to it, just remind me in the comments or something like that. But it essentially feels like a crossover between those two. The thing is, the first episode, we are strung along this road of learning about Jihan, or Gihan, I think that's his name, Xiong. Um, and we see how down and out he is the majority of that first episode. We're like, holy shit, this dude's life is not that great. but he's also not doing that much to improve it. And he's putting himself in these situations. He's gambling. He's doing all this. He's getting beat up by gangsters. He's been borrowing money. He's been stealing money of his bomb. He's just like not a great guy. Can't get enough to, the money that he does get, he ends up losing anyway. And he has to go back on people the one lady that he's been tipping off, or he's not tipping off, but he's the gambling lady that's cashing his checks. He's like, I'm gonna need that back. I'm gonna need that 10,000 won back because, he lost all the money when he dropped it and ran into the other player that they ended up seeing. But without going into too much detail, we understand that this guy has a motivation of why he wants to be in the game. Now, is it worth death? I don't think so. But I think it's interesting that they decide at the very beginning, after the first game, after they've been kidnapped straight up Mr. Robot style, feels like a thrown in the back of a van, like these like the fans coming out and like them going, like fucking going down like this. I'm telling everybody that if you've seen Squid Game, you will love Mr. Robot. It is so like irreverent and different in the same way. It has the colors, it has the interesting story. I think people would love Mr. Robot. You're really just missing out not seeing it. So, anyways, the whole premise on the beginning feels like they're kidnapped, but you find out at the end that if it's the majority rules, then they can just end the games. And so they end up ending the game almost because of this one guy. And it's interesting to see the people that want to stay versus want to leave. And, how much greed is really overtaken their minds and stuff like that, how much they don't care about dying and playing these games. So, anyways, on top of having all of this crazy, irreverent, like these masked dudes that are basically kidnapping people on. So let me back up a little bit. I know this is a little bit scatterbrained, but just give me a second. Let's start with episode 1 because giving the premise will help a little bit bring everything back. I guess I can bring my water over here. Fucking wonderful. So let me just check real quick. This is a single director and writer on all of these episodes, which I do think helps very much of the singular focus of this show. Also, check out LuckyDog Podcast on Twitter. We have some fresh tweets for everybody to check that out. We have other reviews on other television shows that we've already talked about as well. You can check out kind of like first takes, hot takes, ready to go takes there. So, all right. So here is the first episode. So you've basically heard the majority of the first episode, but let me give a little bit more by what they have on the Wikipedia. Red light, green light. Seong Gyung is down on his luck, having accumulated enormous amounts of debt with loan sharks. While at a train station, he is asked by a well-dressed man. I gotta tell you, this dude was looking sharp. I was like, damn, I want to look like that guy. Well-dressed man, looking like 007 or something like that, to play a game of Dadakaji. I'm sure I'm saying this wrong. I'm sorry. Dadakaji, I think, for money. It's like they're playing this game where they have to like slap each other's cards and make it flip over or something like that. And if they don't do it, then the other person gets slapped in the face. And so he's like, all right. Gyung has already been like mugged after that, and he needs like as much money as he can because he knows he's going to see his kid. And he's slapped, boom, 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 several times by this guy in the well-dressed suit. And ultimately, he ends up getting at least one good hit, and he's getting ready to go slap this guy, and he gets one good flip on it. And this guy, he grabs his hand like that. He's like, not today. And then he gives him a card, and basically is inviting him to go play a game with higher stakes. And he's like, here's the money. You've won this. You won the game. And when he gets a taste of that first little bit, it's almost like a drug for him. He's like, this is like a real take on, the metaphors and allegories of like addiction and stuff like that. And so Gihan accepts and is taken. Um, Basically, what he does is it looks like he gets a card that looks like it has a bunch of like Sony PlayStation like symbols on there. It's got like an X, an O, a triangle, and a square. And he's like, hello, who is there? And he tells them, they tell them on his, he's like, let's get your name, your birth date, give you phone number, address. Let me see what your sizes are. How big is your, is. They want to know everything. And so they, they say, all right, now meet us at this location, and get ready to get snatched up. And he ends up getting snatched up. And this is when I was talking to y'all earlier, that, and for anyone that hasn't seen this, the main character is snatched up, thrown in the back of a van, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he sees people like sleeping behind him and stuff like that. And he's like, "What?" And he looks at the person driving, and it's a person in a fucking mask with, it looks like it has like a Sony symbol, and I think it's like a triangle or something like that. I don't remember which one it was, but it was one of those with a mask. And they're like, and all of a sudden it looks like there's like some sort of gas coming through the vents of the van, and he's like, and he's like, and basically we're shown the process of how people are taken into this game. And it's like we're going all the way from the process. This might be a little bit forward in the season, but we see how the process is from them picking up the people, the contestants, from them taking them from the van to the ferry, from the ferry to the actual location on this like island, looks like Dr. Evil's island or whatever the hell, some 007 shit. And so I was just like, holy Santa Claus, this is like an elaborate system. And so once again, it feels like a very lived in world. And I think what really benefits this show, not only because we didn't get any marketing for it, and it just kind of came out of nowhere, all word of mouth for me. I hadn't seen any trailers or anything for it, so it came out of nowhere, no expectations. But it feels like a lived in world. It feels like so much is happening at this, and that it's happened before. And so um let me see. Okay, so Guillaume accepts and is taken while unconscious to a mysterious location with 455 other players who awaken in a dormitory and are identified by the numbers on their clothes. The location is managed by a masked staff and overseen by the front man. And the front man has a very interesting look. I got to say that the front man has one of my favorite, masks I've ever seen designed. It kind of looks like almost like a video game 8-bit face, but like unfinished in a way. It's kind of hard to describe, but it definitely feels like it has this like digital feel to it, but very aesthetically cool, very cool. The location is managed and masked by staff and overseen by the front man, also masked. The players are all similarly dire financial straits and will be given billions of won, which is, I believe, the Korean official monetary unit in prize money if they win 6 games over 6 days. Gihyun befriends player 001, or just one, an elderly man, and recognizes among the players Cho Sang-woo, a former classmate and businessman who has been talked about throughout the episode, before they even get to each other. And it's good how they sow the seeds for this. And player 67, a pickpocket who stole his money. We bumped into her, the main character bumped into her earlier in the season. And we don't get too much about the pickpocket up front, but we learn a little bit more about her as the season goes. And I kind of like how her demeanor, and kind of like down and out, how she doesn't trust anybody, and it's kind of with reason. I mean, they don't like her either. and there is a cultural divide among many cultural divides that I'm not going to see right off the bat. Um, there is a cultural divide that is because I'm an American and I won't understand the cultural significance of that. So bear with me. But one thing I did notice was how they weren't picking on her, but they were sort of picking on her, but they were pointing out the fact that she was, I believe, from North Korea, but she had come to South Korea, and so they were. There is some, I guess, whether you could say like ignorance of, they're coming over and taking our jobs kind of thing, even though they're trying to get out of a bad situation. And, it's interesting to see how there is this divide in how they look at people from other countries, just as how we in America or the States, we have very similar views, divided down the middle. Some people think, immigration is good. Some people think immigration is not so good. And so, the cultural divides and how we think and perceive other people from other places is, for better or for worse, very relatable, to be honest. And so that's where, having this player, being an outcast was relatable to understand from. And um, so yeah, the first game is red light, green light. So red light, green light, red light, blue light, got a green light and a blue light. Hey. So anyways, the first game is red light, green light, where those who are gunned down on the spot. Um, sorry, those who lose are gunned down on the spot. So I had no idea. I had no expectation of this world, of what to expect. It did feel like they were being forced to play these games, because it didn't feel like they could just leave on their own, except for with this like long accord of rules that they were told that they had to like sign at the very bottom. And with saying that, this episode, um, you know, seeing them play this game, having so many different aspects of this first game. Okay, so the first thing is there's this giant doll girl, looks like a little white girl, that's about, I don't know, 20 feet high. And she's got these eyes that go all this different way. And these eyes are like scanners. And these scanners are like looking for people that are moving during the middle of the red light, green light game. And so if someone moves during that, which at the very beginning, they don't understand the significance of it, they are targeted by fucking snipers, all different directions. Doom, 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 doom. I Ruthless. I remember watching Alice in Borderland, and they kind of have this similar play these games to get out of these situations to get money kind of thing. They're a little bit more forced into it in that show. This one's because they want to make money. Um, this first episode, they kill everybody without like giving them any notice. It feels like they mow down half of the people in that room. I think they actually do at that point. They're like, we got to get the fuck out of here, because it is it's almost traumatizing seeing the first game. This like doll is like red light, green light, like people are just going like absolutely eight nuts, and you don't go eight nuts once. They go eight nuts multiple times. I mean, multiple games that are there. I'm like on the edge of my skin. I'm like, holy Santa Claus sack. There's a reason they have a bunch of these challenges and TikTok things, people eating these crackers and doing all these cracking things and jumping through glass and shit like that. There, some of these games do feel like you would have a chance. This game, I don't fucking think so. So it's like the most terrifying game of red light, green light. And you quickly understand, you have some of the people that are, helping the other people out, and other people, like the pickpocket is like hiding behind this like bully ass guy. This guy's like clearly like a gangster thug ass. And she's like hiding behind his face, and she's, that's the smart way to play it. And honestly, she was playing it smart. There's a lot of other players that are playing it smart. you see this player 001, the older guy, he's just like getting it. And I'm like, dude, this guy doesn't give a yuck and he's playing it as he wants. I was like, this is my man. I like this guy. And he plays it to a T. I love this player who plays the older man, Oh Young Soo as Oh Il Nam, an elderly man with a brain tumor who prefers playing the game. Um, as opposed to waiting to die out in the outside outside world. So I just want to make sure that I wasn't spoiling anything too much. um so yeah there is crazy amounts of killing in this first episode. I'm like, holy shit, how is this going to suffice for the rest of the game? Why would anybody ever want to play any of this? um and then they show them this big ball, this, out of so many different shots in the show, I gotta say, there's this big ball of money that they fill up after each game, after every they lose 100 different people, and all this money comes falling in this like giant piggy bank looking thing. That shot, there's another shot, and they're playing like this classical music of them going through this like Willy Wonka looking factory of a warehouse, and it was just everyone's going. And as the series continues, it almost, you're playing it so much that you, as the viewer, is just like losing your mind because at first there's like 400 people, then there's 300 people, there's 200 people, and then it just keeps on dwindling down until there's only a few people going um, through this corridor of this crazy colored corridor, and it is just like it's like, get me out of this fucking place. You just feel like you're gonna lose your mind. And so yeah, just after saying all that, I'm just like, this first, that was all in the fucking first episode. We haven't even like really gotten into the second one. A little bit of the premise talks about it, but the whole point of this first episode is to put you in this world and to understand the stakes, and you fucking do. I'm just like, I was hooked. I was like, this is intense. I don't know if I thought everybody was likable, but I mean, I thought there was enough there to kind of keep me going. um and it was one of the strongest Netflix openings I've seen in a long time, on an original series. So, um, so yeah, red light. The first game is red light, green light, where those who lose are gunned down on the spot. Gi Hyun, though terrified, is encouraged by Sang Woo to play, and is saved from falling by player 199. All three are able to complete the game, and you kind of understand the dynamic of these different individuals that are probably going to be a little more part of the game later in the series. So if you haven't seen the series, I'm trying not to spoil it too much. Just talking about the first episode as of right now, but I'm going to go into the next. I'm just going to go ahead and to the last episode because we just don't have time to watch to talk about all these episodes. We're just going to kind of jump into the last episode and kind of like pickpocket from the other little episodes as well. But I gotta say, this was one of the best Netflix series I've seen probably since Dark. I haven't podcasted Dark, but that was one of my favorite series most recently to finish those 3 seasons. Mind blowing, mind bending. This is up there with that and Stranger Things and all those really good shows. And so I would definitely recommend watching Squid Game. So let's continue on with the season. I'm with the understanding that you have seen the rest of the series or are ready to be spoiled on it, in which I would recommend go ahead and watch the rest of the series if you have not. So, you know what has happened at the end of the series by now. You know why I've said that it feels like Fear Factor meets Saw. It is a straight up rug pull from left field. I was mind blown when we come back and he's going up the stairs. Gihan is going upstairs looking like a straight scrub, and he sees Il Nam laying in bed, straight big chilling, all warm and tucked in, and he like, I was like, this motherfucker. I was I was basically in tears during the marble game. So everyone knows we played the marble game. I think that what is like it's at the fifth or sixth episode. Let me see. Tug of war, marbles. Okay, so marbles is six, I believe. And oh gosh, yeah, it was six. Okay, so we all we all saw the marble game, and that was an intense ass episode. It was hard to watch. It was amazing acting on both sides. Both the main actor, I'm just gonna give him a shout out, Lee Jung Jae. I'm assuming that that's how you pronounce it. I apologize if it's not. Who plays player 456? Fucking amazing. His expressions, his timing, everything he had, all the scenes he had with the player one, oh Il Nam. Oh my gosh, it absolutely tore me apart. And I was like, dude, you were jipping an old man and he's got dementia. And then at the very end of the episode, you find out that he has been playing him the whole time. And then they even go to the furthest mile of like saying, like, you deserve this last marble. It almost feels like a little bit of like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory in a way. I didn't really talk about, the comparisons, but like the slight spoilers for that if you haven't seen it, but skip 30 seconds. But um, Wonka is pushing Charlie along to get the factory at the end, and I feel like Ilnam is kind of pushing along Gihan 456 kind of along in the same direction, in the same way. He's helping. He gave him the marble. He helped him along in the marble game, and he knew he wasn't going to die. So he wasn't going to die from a gunshot at least. And so it's just so many things about this show have me floored. At the end of the show, I was just like, this is not where I thought this was going to go. And by the end of the show, he's essentially a man on ready to get revenge, and he is ready to take down the establishment, and that's hype. And so, and I kind of like the red hair at the end too. It took me a while. I thought he was like losing his mind and just like, I was like, dude, what's with the red hair? But he got the K-pop look now. He's got $50 million in the bank. I mean, come on. So I do want to talk about this last episode, real quick. So let's talk about it. One Lucky Day, episode 9. The sixth and final game is the Squid Game, with Gihyun an offense and Sang-woo on defense. Gihyun beats Sang-woo but refuses to complete the game. Now, I'm sure that's really quickly said and better easily said than done. I know all these action scenes are kind of just like scoop, scoop, and then the next thing happens. But that is not what happened. It was a knockout, drag out fight. And I didn't actually get to talk about what happened to the previous episode, but it's kind of what really sends the Gi Hyun in a certain direction. So let me kind of go back and talk about the last episode because it really puts in perspective of what's going on. As finalists Gi-hyun, Sang-woo, and Sae-byuk are given a change of clothes and a fancy dinner. And let me say, this is after playing that intense cookie game, the cookie game where they're like going in the things like ding, 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 looking at things, and then doing all that. They do the cookie game, they do the marble game where they have to play the different marbles, and fucking Sang-woo gypped player 199 or something like that. Didn't have to do him like that. Um, and what do we have? The glass game. All right, the glass game was just ridiculous. I got to be honest. The glass game was just like, all right, so y'all just wanted everybody to die at this point because how the hell were you supposed to like tell? Then they obviously wanted everyone to die. And on top of that, I got to say the Americans that were in episode I think 7, the VIPs. They're insufferable. They are absolutely the lowest part of this series. They feel like campy television television movie bad guys in a world where I felt like we had very mostly realistic realism uh, when it came down to the individuals of the characters. You know, the characters felt very realistic. These did not feel like characters. They felt like caricatures. Um, and so, with saying that, that is one of the weakest parts is the VIPs. They were just ridiculous. Um, on top of that, there were a couple parts that were not that great. Um, there is let me see. Gangster. Okay, so player 212, Han Mi Yunao, a mysterious and manipulative woman who claims to be a poor single mother. She is another caricature within the show as well, kind of in the same realm of the gangster Deksu, player 101. Not exactly the strong parts of the show, but I think Deksu is like the so-called bad guy of the series that is playing within the game. And then we find out who the real bad guy actually is, and I honestly think it's Sang Woo. Um, because we see the slow turn of Sang Woo and how he's like, how money just cover blinds him and makes him just a really terrible person. So anything that we have to cover past that before we hop into the last episode? I'm sorry, I'm kind of scatterbrained on this last little bit, but there is so many subplots that are happening in this last episode. It's kind of hard to, wrap it all together. Um, but let me see. Same book. Okay, so yeah, in Abdul Ali, he's a foreign worker from Pakistan who's kind of like the character they sort of use in a way to say like it's okay to have darker people on international television. I feel like it's a little bit like maybe it's because the international boundaries. That's where it's like, all right, we got to have uh, we got to say this type of stuff. But I feel like we're a little bit past this. As a culture, I'm kind of past being stating the obvious of having a darker skinned person on screen and then stating the obvious of having darker skin on. Just let them be a character and don't worry about it. I know that it's like they were doing like an immigration statement saying he's coming over here trying to work and that type of stuff, but yada yada yada. You didn't come here for that. But anyways, um, yeah, the last character I wanted to talk about, who I was really hooked and engaged with on the majority of the episodes, especially at the beginning, because we get a different view and a different perspective of the island, how the game works, how people are being abducted, that type of thing. Um, which I thought that we were going to get a little bit more from player 67, who, when the second time they decide to go to play the games, after the first one, they decide not to play the game anymore. Second episode, it's everyone living their life again and deciding, I actually do want to play the game, and they go back in. Player 67 fakes her way going in asleep. And so I thought she was going to kind of like, um, get out in a more fashionable sense. That's not exactly what happened. So maybe I'm not quite as predictable. But when it came to Huang Junho, a police officer who sneaks into the game as a guard to find his missing brother, he was one of the most interesting parts of the season because we got to see the opposite side of the game. We were seeing how the different operations worked, how people were talking, how they were taking the bodies and kind of scooping the, the eyeballs and the organs and stuff out. It was like a real process to what was going on. I did feel like him looking for like who killed his brother, and then we find out that his brother's the front man kind of thing, didn't exactly come off as like, whoa. I just kind of like, whoa, because we didn't really get any background with the front man or Jun Hyo together. I felt like they're, to my knowledge, I don't think we did, and if we did, I might have missed it. But if we didn't, I felt like that's where they could have improved and had a little bit more connection of, like, holy shit, it's the brother that we've seen this whole time. But it's like, okay, it's his brother that he's been looking for that we thought was murdered, but actually isn't. Now he's actually running the games. It's like, I was like, I mean, we were still waiting to see who was running the games the whole time, and it was like there could only be so many people that we've seen on screen or haven't seen on screen. I was like, all right, so it has to be the brother, or it has to be, um, it ends up being the ultimate guy that's running it ends up being Il Nam, player one, but the front man ends up being, Jun Hyo's brother. So it's like, I don't know. Um, Mixed feelings. I think he's going to be a bigger player because he had to have his face under a mask the majority of the time. I think he's going to be a bigger player later in, maybe if there's a second or third season. They've kind of set it up so there could be, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. Um, I would definitely watch regardless if this individual and the people that created this wanted to make a completely different show. I would be completely fine with that. I would say Squid Game feels like a complete thought. It doesn't need to be continued. Um, you know, it was, the majority of it was really good and very close to perfect. I don't think it needs a second season to latch onto that. Now, saying that, I think that Netflix is going to try to squeeze this for 3 seasons, 4 seasons. All right. Um, and I guess the front man, he must be a famous guy. I haven't really researched the majority of these actors. Lee Byung Hyun, a South Korean actor and singer, he has received critical acclaim for his work in a wide range of genres, most notably Joint Security Arena, Bitter Life, Bittersweet Life, The Good, the Bad, the Weird, and a bunch of other stuff. Let me get some agua before we finish this episode. Let me know if y'all are enjoying the podcast. I've done a lot of work trying to get this Squid Game up fast, and you're getting the full review. Most people, most Patreons, most Patreons would be getting this early, but I'm gonna let everybody get this at the same time. Patreon.com/LuckyDog Podcast to support the podcast. $1, $2, $5. Donations are available as well. LuckyDogPodcast.com. Everything you can do to support the podcast is phenomenal. We have subscriptions on YouTube that you can, subscribe for free, get the notifications when you get the videos, get them hot, drop them hot, and SoundCloud if you just want to be listening, be like, yo, what's up? If you want to hang out in the Discord, we got the Discord, we got the Facebook, we got the Instagram, we got the Twitter, we got the Twitch, we got all the stuff. Oh God, so many different social medias. All right, so let's hop into this last episode again that I tried to go ahead and start, but it took a little bit longer than I thought. So, after Lights Out, Gi-hun asks Se Byuk that they team up against Sang Woo, and that's player 240. What is her name? Player 67. She's the pickpocket lady. So he asks the pickpocket lady if they would team up against Sang Woo. And Sang Woo is just acting all types of strange. I mean, he's pushing people off the glass bridge. And I got to say, that little chess game, the chess thing they had of them actually playing the thing, who the hell is that for? Why would you need this little chess thing? No one could actually see that except for the camera. I don't know. It looked cool, I guess. So when they were doing the reenactments of people like falling off, they were like, "Oh, D295." It's like the VIPs can't even see it from up there. Whatever. Um, so Sang Woo had thrown like that homeless guy that was like helping everybody off anyway. I don't know. But Say Myung was injured in the Stepping Stones game and suggests that they promise to help each other's loved ones if they win the game instead. Sae-byuk injuries worsen, and she gets. It's just like this crazy explosion at the end of this like glass game. So for anyone that doesn't know what the glass game is, they told everybody to jump on these pieces of glass. It's like, all right, here's a piece of glass, here's a piece of glass, and then you have to jump on each one of these pieces of glass, but you have to choose which piece of glass. One of them is tempered, one of them is not. If you don't choose the tempered glass, you're going to go through the glass. And so there's not even like a chance for like there's no game in this. It's just like you have to choose left or right. It's basically like flipping a coin, almost like a Russian roulette game, but it's all based upon having no um it's all based upon having like uh, being the last person in the line is what you want to be basically, but you don't want to go first, because if you go first you're going to possibly go through the fucking glass, and so it's like fuck. So anyways, it doesn't really feel like much of a game. But anyways, the entire game, the bridge explodes at the end of that in like slow mo. It's like, and it's very cool with the lights going on and shit like that. And they do fuck with the glass, so the lights, so that the glass isn't reflecting in a way that they can see which type of tempered glass or not, which is kind of like leads to one of those guys' deaths. But anyways, they um they explode the bridge, and that bridge is what causes Sang Byuk's injuries. She gets like stabbed with a piece of glass that comes off of one of those pieces of glass and on the bridge, and she's like, "Oh!" And she is not doing good through like dinner and not looking good, and they are not good. She is in bad condition, and she's kind of holding it back, not showing everybody. Um, Sae-byuk's injuries worsen, and Yi Hyun runs to get help. He sees her like not doing well, and at this point, we've had basically everybody is out of the game, and so there's only those three right now, and Yi Hyun is like running to get help in this big irreverent room. It's just this big strange room. It feels like they're prisoners in there, to be honest. But he runs to get help, and he's like banging on the door. He's like, "Help! Somebody needs to get help! Somebody needs to get him!" And then he like turns around and he sees Sang Wook. He says, "But when the staff arrive, Sae-byuk is dead. Sang Woo took the opportunity to stab her when Yi Hyung was away. His good buddy stabbed this girl, basically because he was just a greedy ass, and he's going to he keeps telling everybody, let's team up, let's be teams, let's you and I are going to get the money, we can do this." And he tells each one of the people that he's playing with, and his college boy or whatever they keep calling him, he's so smart. But Gi Young's like so pissed at this point, he just wants to fucking rip him a new one. And so Jun Hyo makes it onto another island and calls his chief, but the reception is poor. That's Jun Hyo is the young police officer that's trying to find, who killed his brother, and he's kind of like infiltrating the island and stuff like that. But he escapes the island at this point, so he's trying to get the fuck out of there. And so, but he tries to call the chief, but the reception's poor. So we've seen this before. That means if he ain't got reception, you're done. And so this is when he finds out the front man and his soldiers hunt Jun Hyo down, and front man reveals himself to be In Hyo, Jun Hyo's brother. In Ho shoots Jun Ho and lets him fall into the sea, which we can think about possibility that his body could be retrieved in a way that he might live. That it'd be good if we could get this guy back, just to have some more time with him. A lot of people like this guy. Good looking cat too. So let's get to episode 9 now. One lucky day. The sixth and final game is the Squid Game, with Ji Hyun on offense and Sang Woo on defense. Now you understand where we're at. Yi Hyun beats Sang Woo but refuses to complete the game. And when they are doing the knockout drag out fight, I'm talking it is intense. There are people they're beating the shit out of each other. There's parts where I thought Ji Hyun was going to be done. He gets stabbed so many times with this thing. They're just like they're sitting there like ready to stab each other, and it's like, oh shit. It's becomes a hunt as soon as the dinner is over the night before. They leave everything out of the table and off the dining room that when they are done eating and everything the night before, even when Sang Byuk was still alive, player 67 was still alive. It's so anonymous that or so like eerie that they only thing that they leave in this big ass table triangle table they have them looking at each other. It's just they look down and there's this fucking like dinner knife, steak knife, and fucking Sang Woo has been holding that shit ready to fucking Ji Hyun so hard. I gotta tell you, I was like, this is intense. um so, anyways, they go through it, knockout, drag out. I don't know what that is. That's not even a fight. But you get the idea. There was a big ass like knockout, drag out fight, and it was to the point where I was like, Yi Hyun is going to literally just lose his shit. Like, send him back in the thing. And basically, he about does that, but he comes right to the side, and when he goes down the stab, he doesn't stab Sang Woo. And I was like, yes. I was like, he didn't lose his shit. It's like, because you want them to like get like a nice fight in, but you don't want him to lose his sanity. And so that's where he felt it. So anyway, he refuses to complete the game. He invokes the third clause to end the game, but Sang Woo stabs himself and asks Yi Hyun to use the prize money to help Sang Woo's mother. He just says, fuck it, and he's out. And he's like, okay, then. Damn, that sucks. And, he's really feeling bad about it. He's just like, feels like shit. And you can tell from the next few scenes and the next little while he's going, he's not going to do well. Ji-hyun returns home that night to find that his mother has died. The entire time this whole fucking thing is gone, his mother has died, almost a third of the reason of why he was getting the money. So he has to feel like kind of like a shit. A year later, Ji-hyun is still traumatized by his experience and has barely touched his prize money. One night, he receives a gold game invitation card and is answering it. Finds player 001. Il Nam, still alive but dying. Il Nam is one of the VIPs, the host, who co-ran the game alongside the frontman, Inho, and the mastermind behind the game's operation, which was made to entertain the bored super rich like himself. Il Nam explains that both the poverty stricken and the uber wealthy lead monotonous, monotonous lives, uh, and he was trying to find a way to derive enjoyment from life. He was also testing whether humanity had an innate goodness left in it, reminding Gi Hyun that despite witnessing the bloodshed in the initial game, he and other participants still returned and sacrificed each other's lives for the sake of earning the prize money for themselves. I mean, this is kind of an intense way to have a big, finger wagging lesson. It's like, this doesn't make you a good guy. Oh my gosh. So, Ilnam got me. The specific games are based on Ilnam's childhood memories, and he decided to participate himself for nostalgia's sake. Il Nam asked Gi Hyun to play one last game with him, another test to see if humanity still has goodness left in it. Whether anyone will come and help a drunk man on the street before midnight. Gi Hyun wins, but Il Nam dies. I gotta say that it's a beautifully edited scene. The entire series is really beautifully edited, but this one especially, the clock ticking, the old man going down, all that, it was crazy. It was crazy good. Though presumably not before he witnesses his loss. Um, Il-nam passes. Gi-hyun snaps out of his stupor and fulfills his promises. He gets Se-byuk's brother out of the orphanage and gives Sang-woo's mother his share of the prize money. Gi-hyun is about to leave the country and reconnect with his daughter, who we find out that, he punched that stepfather at one point. I was like, Jesus, he had to do that. But he punches that father, and they're going off to the U.S., and he's kind of pissed about it. But now he's going to go back and, recollect and he's a good father now. He wants to go back and see his daughter, reconnect with his daughter. But on the way to see, he sees someone playing Dajak, or the game at the beginning when he's throwing the envelopes. I'm sorry, I'm saying that wrong. I know I am. But he's playing the envelope game with the same game recruiter, the sharp-looking cat, who invited him. Gi-hyun takes the man's card. He's like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Calls the number and is now determined to find out who they are. After he gets that fresh red K-pop cut, you know what I'm saying? But that is Squid Game, my friends. Let me know how you like Squid Game, the TV show, our review. Let me know how I can improve. Let me know if I got anything wrong. Just throw it in the comments. Throw a thumbs up. Throw a subscribe. Let me know how I can improve. We have tons of reviews coming down the pipe. Movies, TVs, HBO, Netflix, the Hulus, all the stuff. We're covering them. Thank you for listening, watching LuckyDog Podcast. Take it easy.